Welcome to The Voiceover with your host, Dee Foster III, where we discuss relevant topics that affect the culture with bold, independent commentary. Get ready to be inspired, enlightened, and encouraged.
Welcome to the Voiceover Now podcast. I'm your host, Dee Foster III, CEO and president of Wake Up Global Networks International. You know the spill. We're going to get into some things. Listen, like, share, subscribe, put a copy of this link in your context. You don't want to miss this. I want to say on behalf of Wake Up Global Networks and myself, I'm wishing you and your family a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. If you're seeing this after Thanksgiving, I hope you had an enjoyable, wonderful, wonderful time. I want to say shout out to WPB Media owner, April J. and her mom, Pastor Mabel Hall, and her whole entire family. We wish you a very happy Thanksgiving weekend. Thank you so much for giving us a platform for our voice to be heard. Also want to shout out Prophetess Kiara Riley and her family and Sean, and want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, you and your family, and to all of those who are connected to Wake Up Global Networks and just our viewers, wherever you are, happy Thanksgiving. You know, we have a lot to be thankful for. I want you to like, I want you to subscribe, I want you to share. Listen, before we get into the context and the content of this podcast, I want to remind you that if you have not been, go to the website, that on the first Sunday of December, I think it is the 7th, we will be beginning the Awakening Experience. No, hell to the no. It's not a church. It is a community of diverse people coming together to foster spiritual growth and development so that we all can live in purpose, on purpose. That is it. That's the beginning. That's the Alpha. That's the Omega. And there's nothing in between. So there is no church. It is a gathering place. And we'll give you more information about what to expect when you register, and you will definitely get a video this week. I want to say we've kind of been waiting for our executive assistant, again, for her family to do some healing and to spend time together in the transition of her husband, Sean's dad. And when you put people before programs, that's one of the things where church goes wrong. Well, businesses go wrong, period. When you put people before programs, things seem to work out. I want you to like, I want to share. Listen, have you heard the Voice of Hope Connection with V every Sunday? If not, you can get the replay. Listen, with all the negative energy that's out there, with all the negative vibrations, listen, there's a place you can go every single Sunday, every single week, and even listen to it at the replay in the middle of the week, the Voice of Hope Connection with V, right here on WPBMediaNetworks.com and on Wake Up Global Media. All right, let me see. Is there anything else that I want to say before we get started? I want you to like. I'm waiting for you to share this. I want to say thank you. I didn't know so many of you were interested in my story. And if you want to know more, I'm dealing with my detailed walk through Katrina on my Patreon. If you want to subscribe to Patreon, you can go to my website, www.wakeupglobalnetworks.com, or you can follow me on social media, IG. There's a link in my bio, DJ Change 111. DJ Change 111. There's a link in my bio where you can click it and be a part of the lit Patreon, where we get into detail concerning a lot of things that I don't put on regular YouTube because it's censored, etc. And then I talk things, and I know if people subscribe, you really want to hear what I have to say. So I put that on Patreon. When church goes wrong, part number 8. Wow. We started with Mahogany way down in Houston, Texas. Then we moved north way up in DC to Metropolitan. And now we're further north, right? Further north with Dee Foster III and Bread of Life. And I started telling you the story, and I love this. I don't have to recant the story every week. You can go back and watch the previous video. So I don't have time to, and plus I don't have the patience, can I be honest with y'all, to recant the story, especially with now technology streaming. I mean, when it wasn't streaming and, you come to church, people didn't come to church every Sunday and you didn't record. You had to go back and repeat if you're doing a series, what you did last week. And it took half of the time. Now I say, go back and watch last week if you want to catch up, or as they say, as YouTubers say. I would advise you before you watch this video, go back and watch my last video. Isn't that what they say? Isn't that what they say? Like, share, subscribe, and follow. Follow, hit that hype button, hit the like. It lets the algorithms know that you like this kind of content and you help push us. And look, guess what? Plus, we don't take an offering, and it also supports the channel. That's right. It supports the channel. So make sure you hit that like button. But make sure you subscribe, because when church goes wrong, part number 8, when ambition triumphs the mission. Now, I want to say this. For anybody who is a mentor, sees me as a mentor, sees me as an advisor, sees me as spiritual dad, whatever you see, I'm going to confess, I do not lead by being full of knowledge. That is not my style of leadership. There are some people, they can, like Pastor Mike Murdoch, can sit down and throw out principles and what you ought to do and what you ought to, and if you do this, and that's his gifting. And he mentors and he leads wonderfully. And it works, right? Just give me an example. Well, they would have it that my style of mentorship comes out of the basket of my many mistakes. So yeah, and everybody has their style of leadership. See, I may not can tell you what to do, but I sure as hell can tell you what not to do, because I did it and it didn't work for me. And certain things are basic principles. Certain things are basic principles. Like this, share this, like this. So I give you the history of how I came out of staunch Baptism, right? Staunch Baptism, being led, and I will always believe that I made the right decision, though it cost me everything, being led to start a non-denominational, spirit-filled church, Bread of Life, full gospel Christian church. Now, this was before the Full Gospel Baptist Church movement. It wasn't named after that. I didn't even know at the time there was a Full Gospel Baptist Church, but I was just led to call it Bread of Life, full gospel Christian church, where everybody can come and be a part. And I told you, without recanting and going over last week, that it was hell on wheels for the first maybe year and a half. The problem was I was not used to. See, here's the problem. This part of my mentorship too, right? Just because I was anointed and teaching and preaching, it did not mean, and I didn't know this at the time, that I was not necessarily going to be a pastor that, boom, blew up, right? I didn't know that, because where I came from, the Baptist. Now, a lot of things have changed in the Baptist. So when I talk about the Baptist, now I'm not criticizing the Baptist. I'm talking about the Baptist when I grew up as a Baptist, and I was in Baptist church, right? Third generational Baptist pastor, deflocked, now made my way. Now I'm on my way. Now I'm on. But anyway, no, that is good, right? So anyway, so what I didn't know at that time, and a lot of people don't know it, and I've seen them make the same mistake, that just because you are anointed to preach and teach and people respond, doesn't mean you are anointed to pastor. Now, that's in my mentoring session. I'm not going to get into the difference there, but there's a big difference between preaching, teaching, and pastoring. I'm going to say this, like this, share this. One is spiritual and the other one is more administrative. And I went into this without the administrative gifts because, again, like I told you last week, nobody trained you. Nobody trained me because I was anointed. I could preach. I could teach. People would respond. And therefore, it was assumed, because in the Baptist church, you were either a pastor or you were nothing. I mean, now we have the fivefold. I didn't know anything about Ephesians, the fivefold, chapter number 4, the fivefold ministry gifts. I would have known then. I'm more of a teacher and not trying to brag on anything, but it's been said publicly by others, apostolic gift, a father, a mentor. That's more my gift than pastor. I can pastor. I learned to pastor, but I understand that my main gift is that apostolic gift. Like, I'm good. Let me tell y'all something. I'm good at getting it started. I can get it started. I can get it started. That's the apostle. I can blaze the trail. I can do the work. I can get the vision. And bam, I need to put somebody in it because I'm not anointed to carry it, right? I'm anointed. You got to know this. I'm going somewhere. You got to know this. And see, one of the things that I've always tried to be is honest. I've tried to avoid self-deception, right? I'm not deceived on who I am. Like I said, I never pastored in that first year we never had more than 25 members. Now, I've always had quality people, givers. Money wasn't the issue when I first started. It was administration. It was growth. It was knowing how to foster growth. Because I deflected from my traditional upbringing, there was nobody to help me. Everybody abandoned me. And this is where I left off last week. Share this, share this, share this. You know it's good. You know you want to know all this information. And we've been wanting to know where he came. This is it, right? But if church goes wrong, and I'm building my case because I told you I wanted to always be an attorney. So no one helped me. So it's interesting. I was thinking about this getting ready for the show today. The difficulties flipped mid-ministry. In the beginning, it was a people problem and not a money problem. It was a organizational problem and not a, money problem. Midway, and I'll show you when it flipped and why it flipped, and it's my fault it flipped. It became not a administrative problem because I learned the administration of pastoring by this time, but it was a money problem. And pretty much because of my preconceived notions of what I would do if I was a pastor, my ambition really trumped the mission. Now I'm getting ahead of myself. Share this, share this, share this. Come on. You heard it from the horse's mouth. You heard it from me. You get it all straight from me. So, so what does I say? Oh, so I go in, I'm thinking because, I'm preaching at Wayland and the church is packed every time I'm preaching and I'm preaching out. And I knew I had the gift to oratate and I was teaching preaching. They used to call it treaching. It's never Hooper, still not, don't have that kind of lung capacity, but I can dig deep and I was a teacher and I have passion with my teaching, just like I have passion with the Voice Over There podcast. I have passion with everything I do, every single thing I do, right? So watch this, y'all. So I go in and there's no growth. This is not what I expected. I'm thinking, build it and they will come. Well, that did not happen. And as I left off last week, I told you I struggled. Now, 15 months in, and this is where I left off, I was licensed and ordained, right? So maybe, I'm just saying maybe, I'm not going to tell you my conviction of it. I'm going to let you guess that I shouldn't have started until I had that, what's the word? I had that affirmation on one hand, but no one in my circle at the time would affirm me regardless because I was not starting a Baptist church. So it's a double-edged sword, but I knew I was supposed to do this, right? So I go and start. Some quality people came. Now, one thing I've never done, I've never went around wailing and said, I'm starting a church. I just don't believe in that. I believe you reap what you sow. So no matter what church I left, no one could ever honestly say that I have petitioned other members. Now, I know pastors who have done that and halfway split the church, but I've always kind of been anti that because I do understand whatever you sow, you reap. And if you sow that seed, I can think of a man right now, I don't know if he's still pastor or not, who sowed that seed. He was on Park Heights and he sowed that seed to a church on Garrison. And same thing happened to him. And I've always believed that if God is sending me somewhere, then I don't have to uh, um, pull other people. If they hear about it and come, fine, I can't help that. But for me to go around and put up flyers, I'm starting a church. Never did it in my life. I never. Now, did people find out from where I was that to where I was going and come? Yes, but it wasn't because D. Foster 3 ever petitioned people to follow me. I don't believe in that. I have a problem with that. And that's why when people give you influence in their house, you have to guard it, because people will try to cause division and pit you and the person who gave you the influence. I'm speaking now against one another. So you have to guard it to make sure that you are not feeding into their divisiveness by luring them in. That's what Absalom did, luring them in. This is a whole nother story. See, I'm getting into my mentoring class right now, but I just want to do this podcast, right? So luring them in. So I never did that. So, but people found out about Bread of Life when we had Banneker, and they came. And I'm gonna tell you, quality people, money people. I'm gonna just give you a idea. With 25 people. Now this is back some years. This is back some years. I mean, like probably what is it, 25 years or more. This is back some years, because I was very, very, very young, still young, but very, very, very young when I started pastoring. With 20 people, 25 people, we were taking in 2,000 a week. Think about that. Back then, I'm not talking about today. Back then, in the 80s, I'm taking in, shows you the quality of people. So money was never an issue. And whatever we needed, we raised the money, because we started with zilch, zero. Nobody gave me nothing. Ain't nobody gave me nothing. Ain't nobody gave me nothing. I got it by faith from the ground up, right? That's apostolic. But I didn't know all of that then, right? I ain't all that. But I had quality people, just not enough people. But I had quality people. I had people when I first started that really, and you know how it is when you first start something. But anyways, share this. Did I tell you to share this? Did I tell you to like this? Want to shout out to the replay crew. What's going on? Thank you. Anyway, so I finally got ordained, and I just be honest, because that's what this whole thing is. I'm not going to be honest with other people's story and not my own. That's hypocrisy. I ain't like it. I ain't like it small. I ain't like the fact we weren't growing. But if it makes sense, I had a strong church. They were committed. If I would preach out, they were there. They ushered. We had the Levitical ministry in Banneker. We had to set up and tear down. Y'all know, some of y'all know about that. So, and they had to love me. Back then I was teaching easy, not the service, teaching easy an hour and a half. Nobody told me no different. Ain't nobody tell me nothing. Wouldn't work today though, right? No. So things begin to turn. I began to hook up with Word of Faith just by being invited out and people hearing about me, and me going to Delaware and Philadelphia and just places. People, and I thank God for that, and the offset of my small ministry. I didn't like it was small. Wasn't used to anything small. I didn't expect it to remain small. I didn't despise the days of small beginnings, but the endings shouldn't be small. But I never concurred the kind of growth that I would have liked. I wasn't trying to be 2,000 or 3,000. But I thought I did, in case former members are listening, I won't say this next thing. And I appreciate the commitment of the crowd that I had. And we'll get to that, because that's where church goes wrong. So things began to turn about 15 months. There is a building in Baltimore, on Baltimore National Pike. I think now, and it's been that since we were there, it was a repair shop. It's for those of you who are local, what is the address? I can't even think of the address right now. All I know is my Park Heights address. 5242. But this was on Baltimore National Pike. Remember where the old International House of Pancakes was? It's next to the Burger King, right next to Chick-fil-A off of Ingleside. But if you're going toward the city, on the right-hand side where the Walgreens is, if you go up, there's a McDonald's. But right next door to the McDonald's, there's like I think it's a window repair shop now. But we moved there. That was our first building, right, from Banneker. We moved there. We had the money to put up, and guess what we did? We paid cash to renovate it. It was a garage. We put carpet in. We put chairs in. We bought the letters for the sign. We're on Baltimore National Pike now, right across from the old IHOP, right? Right next to McDonald's off of Ingleside, right across the street from Mr. G's, right next to the liquor store, and we are visible now. And I mean now. I'm almost 2 years in, right? And we begin to take off. Now, one of the things, I've always been on radio, and a lot of people start coming off the radio. Now, my old radio days were different. You know what I used to do? I used to pray for people on the radio. People used to call in every day, 11:30, me and another pastor, she's transitioned now. And we just call in and like deliverance, binding and rebuking. And people started hearing us I've always had a strong media ministry, even with these podcasts, even with the changing times. I have to say, Spirit has always kept my voice over some kind of media. Some people just have the calling for that. We have the calling. I could be on more media, but I could be on radio, right? I'm always asked to come on radio, but I think things are, in my opinion, things are shifting. Things are going to streaming. Things are going to convenience, that you can listen to whatever you want to listen to, whenever you want to listen to, how often you want to listen to. So right now, radio itself, unless it's free, is not for D. Unless it's free, is not for D. Because these podcasts, though they cost, they're much less expensive, the Voice of Hope and all that we do to produce and reach more people than I think being on radio once a week, right? But at that time, I was on radio. And when I moved to Baltimore National Pike, because Banneker was very hard to find. But again, I didn't know that. I didn't know location. Remember, I'm straight Baptist. Location. And one of the reasons we didn't grow on that, okay, two of the reasons we didn't grow on that. My services were too long, even that day, 2 to 3, right? Yeah, but praise and worship an hour, whole hour. Then I had my own personal praise and worship for another hour. Then I taught for an hour. Come on, y'all. I'm just being transparent. And when I see people doing this stuff, I'm like, you won't make it, especially now. That's why even these podcasts have a time limit. I learned that. And people used to get mad at me when I quit. I said, no, I'm going to quit on you before you quit on me. That's why these podcasts, that's why so many series, because I know people are vying for your attention, trying to get your attention. You don't have time to sit down and look at me for an hour, right? You don't have time to look at me for an hour. So, all right, whatever. So we grow, and we grow. Hold on one second. What in the world? All right, testing, and we grow. Now, When we moved to Baltimore National Pike, I think we were finally, when we first couple of months, remember, we never got no more than 25 in Banneker. We go double, 50. That's still not a lot, but I'm seeing growth. Then I was at the place I could start inviting guest churches and guest speakers. Now, this is something personal, but this is where the healing came from me and my dad after I started Bread of Life. The Lord told me, invite him and Waylon to Bread of Life. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole history. He came, I never forget what the gospel course, he preached, and that's where the healing began after our relationship was severed. When I deflocked as a Baptist and started Bread of Life. So anyway, the healing began, and we started to grow, and churches started to come in, but more or less speakers. And I started having 3-day meetings. And so Bread of Life was, now one thing people knew about Bread of Life, never had nearly the best choirs, never had nearly the best, all the antics to go. But one thing that I believe was the bread basket of Bread of Life, and why most people came anyway, they knew they were going to be taught. They knew, yes, I'm saying it. One thing about it, they knew you could out-sing us, you could out-shout us, you could out-hoop us, but we were contenders when it came to teaching the word. And I don't think anybody will deny it, because people always say it, right? So we weren't a music church. We weren't a shouting church. We were a word teaching church. And based upon that, people came. And then people came. My dad's strength was outreach. Waylon had outreach ministries, food pantries, outdoor carnivals. And so innate in me, even when moving to a word kind of based church, was I had to, even with Wake Up, I have to do outreach. I have to partner with community. That is the essence of who I am, and whatever organization I lead, we do, right? But I couldn't do it at Banneker. I think we did one thing in the backyard, gave away hot dogs. It was not successful. And on Baltimore National Pike, because of the way it was designed, now moving into the meat of this, the way it was designed, we had no space. It was a car lot in the back where you could park, and it was Route 40. That was it. So there was no space. We began to grow, and I think they wanted to go up on the lease. So here comes the turning point of what I believe was and always will be the height, the apex of Bread of Life. This is what most people remember Bread of Life as. We were in that building on Baltimore National Pike maybe a little over a year, I'm thinking, or 2 years. I can't remember all of the years, maybe 2 years, right? And one of our members says, because I kept saying, I need to do outreach. I need to do outreach. I need to do outreach, right? That's my heartbeat, outreach, not just preaching on Sunday, outreach. One of my members says, Pastor, there's a building on Park Heights, 5242 Park Heights Avenue, or 5011, that's another place, 5242. 5011 Park Heights Avenue. It was right across the street from Stop Shop and Save. It was on Park Heights and almost Belvedere. It used to be the big hardware store next to the library on Garrison. Is monstrous. She said, I'm gonna find out who owns it and see if it's any possibility we can lease it. Now, we were right in the middle of where my heartbeat was. Inner city neighborhood. Now, that's going to come back and be very important because the script flips down the road. And this is where I veer off, right? I mean, so as the Lord would have it, it worked out. Now, again, because I've always had quality people, givers, we paid cash for it needed to be remodeled. It was a big, I forget all the square feet. I've never been good at the square feet. It was a big warehouse type situation, right? And it had to be, so the owner wanted it so he could sublease it. So we in part of it, another business in part of it. So we had to pay for the firewalls. We had to pay for all of the reconstruction of it. And we came up with the money. We came up with the money. So we are in the heart, right on the bus stop too, man. 5011 Park Heights Avenue. I'm still on the radio. Guest speakers are really coming in. Now I'm connecting to the community. There's a lot of churches in that area. So we got a little hateration when we moved in. One man told me, maybe that's why I keep saying that address, that I didn't get his permission to move. And I'm like, sir, who died and left you God? I mean, that's the kind of shiggity that I went through. That's the kind of stuff, right? But because we went there, we were a couple of blocks down. You weren't paying none of my bills. And we grew. And we grew. And I just remember whatever we needed, we had the money. See, money was not the issue in the first 10 years. And I will tell you why that changed next time. Don't forget, like this, share this, follow us. I'm D Foster 3. Don't forget, go to the website. On the 7th, we begin the awakening experience. I'm excited. I want to thank all of those of you who have inquired about it. www.wakeupglobalnetworks.com. Till the next show, this is D Foster 3. Hope you're enjoying this. I really hope you're enjoying this. I hope you're learning from it. And I know there's a little bit of entertainment. Till the next show, this is D Foster 3 reminding you, you got a voice. Keep lifting it. Peace.
Thank you for being a part of The Voiceover. Please follow us on all of our social media platforms to stay connected to our upcoming shows and guests. Instagram at The Voiceover Radio. Twitter at DPropheticI. That's the letter D, prophetic, EYE. If this show has enriched you in any way, please share The Voiceover among your circle. Until next time, keep allowing your voice to be heard.